It's such a pleasure to just meet you because there were like several occasions where I wanted to meet you because like your ventures into like the movie business quite successful. And I must say I was very surprised seeing you in this one because I expected like after watching the trailer, I mean this is going to be a spoiler alert. You're not as serious as I would have expected you to be within this movie. So I felt like he must have such a pile of like action movie plots that I actually offered, but apparently you just choose always like for the actually more entertaining comedic roles.
Not true. I think I was able to do some really. I was grateful to be around some really funny people and be a part of some funny memories that a lot of folks have. Agent Burns originally is down the barrel serious, and Travis is a brilliant director and a brilliant manager and planner of all this. And we played Agent Burns serious, and there were a couple of times where we'd do these giant set pieces, and we'd be lit and prepared, and he would get what he wanted very early, and then he would say like, "Hey man, everybody lit this thing and we're good. Go ahead and waste a take." And some of that stuff actually made the movie. So when I'm given the freedom to goof off, I'll goof off. But I had 100% impression that Burns would be down the barrel serious. And it's not about me searching out the ability to tell jokes. I just want to be part of stuff that I like. I thought this was an awesome way to redefine Transformers and such a great way to give life to a storied franchise. I think it's such a good dive into the most iconic Transformer. If my role in this was just to be a down-the-barrel bad guy, so be it. It's not. The movie isn't called Agent Burns. It's called Bumblebee. So I just wanted to be a part of Bumblebee.
Well, but in order not to be like offensive, because I didn't feel like as an insult, it's quite the opposite. Because I feel like as you know, like being comedic sometimes takes like a time, specific talent, and you obviously have it.
I appreciate that, but at the same time, like I'm also looking at, okay, if the lead bad guy just tells a bunch of dick jokes, it doesn't make much of a threat for Bumblebee, which doesn't make our hero mean much. So it's not that I don't get it. I totally do. And I really do appreciate your comments, but sometimes it's not the time for jokes. And this was one of those instances where when they let me waste takes, I gave him stuff for like the outtake reel. Travis has a whole nother movie on an outtake reel. But he actually trickled some of that stuff into the movie, and those were his choices, and I respect that, but I wasn't expecting any of it. I think it made the movie more fun, it lets the people smile, it gives a little bit more dynamic to Burns, but it's not needed. The movie needs a bad guy so you can make a good guy.
But also, your impression of the movie altogether, because I know you also like grew up on that. I mean, the Transformers franchise has never been as big as it was like in the US. I mean, although that I grew up on it because I saw like some Allied Forces television set program. So I was like, this is really getting like the essence of what it was in the 80s. Yes. And this is what I kind of felt like left out because like I've been there already, and it really seems to be like an offering, like an homage to that period to the younger generation.
Well, it's also as an origin piece. You're right. I think it casts a wide net. I think families can enjoy this film. I think audiences around the world, if they've never seen Transformers before, they're going to sit and they're going to enjoy. So it's an origin piece that's set 30 years in the past. That to me is the start of a journey. So you're right. It is essentially like, okay, we're starting from scratch, and we're going to redefine this whole thing, and we're going to tell this story our way. And what we have is a great movie about friendship that I think a lot of people will enjoy.
All right, then thank you so much for your time.
Cool, man.
Hope to see you more often than on the screen.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Hailey, I mean, I don't want to be offensive, but you're rather young. So it must be kind of like strange being on a set with mostly like, let's say like middle-aged man, like raving about like, back in the days as a kid, I love this, I had all the toys and all that. Wasn't that kind of crazy for you? We're like, it's just like an ordinary job. I'm just going to go through this.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's definitely an interesting, when you put it that way, it can be an interesting experience. But it really was great to have so many people around me that were, children of the 80s, the time in which the movie takes place, and fans of the toys, fans that, grew up playing with Transformers. And, I think there were a lot of people that were so excited, and I think what's so great is that you're on a set with people that are all equally as passionate about this project that you're working on because they have that personal connection to it.
And when it comes to your part, let me put it that way. The thing is, in the beginning, no spoilers, you quite really like the tough girl for that matter. But most of the time, then afterwards, I feel like she's very sensitive when it comes to so many issues there.
Right.
Would you agree, disagree? Is it like a misperception on my side? Because I've seen a lot of tears in that movie coming from you. So.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that, Charlie is at a point in her life where she has suffered from a major loss. She lost her father at a very young age, and that was her best friend. That was her person who saw her and understood her. And she loses him and feels as though there's nobody else that gets her the way he did. There's no one else that she shares the same connection with. And she and her dad had, they spent their time in the garage. They spent their time working on cars, and she learned everything she knows from him. And suddenly he's gone, and everyone else in her family has moved on, and they're living their own lives. And it's just this journey of her sort of becoming or figuring out who she is. And that's a very emotional ride, I think, for anyone.
Let's talk about generations, because I also, while it used to be like a former host for MTV over here, you just hosted the MTV Awards there, but I'd say that you are pretty much closer to your younger audience than I am. And watching that movie, I felt like Travis achieved something that it really told me like, oh, this is really like what this Transformers franchise was back in the days when I was a teenager. But this is me now talking about, it's like, yeah, that's what it used to be like. About your generation, or actually even younger, do you feel like that they're really getting, actually this is what actually been emphasizing or making those middle-aged men so happy? Do you see that kids these days will be like, yeah, sure, Transformers, that's it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so. I think that this film not only has everything that, Transformers fans know and love in it, it has this reality of what it really feels like being a young person growing up. And I do hope that, a lot of young people enjoy that in this film. And there is so much to love about it. And, I think that if they go with their families even, I mean, I saw the film with my mom, and I can't wait to see it with my whole family and with an audience, and feel like there is something in there for everyone to connect to, whether it is that time in the 80s or, just that harsh reality of being a teenager trying to figure out who you are, or whatever it is. I think there's a lot in it for everybody, especially young people.
And also like the younger generation, I mean, you just had this talk I saw like at the breakfast show this morning, that even other guys can also use like social media. But how do you balance all that out? Being an actress, being a singer, also like a presenter, but also like you need to be also like present on social media. Isn't that exhausting pretty much? Or is it like to you, like, oh, that's like the easiest and the normalest thing in the world?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot at once for sure. I do love being able to update my fans with where I'm at and what I'm doing. I try and like keep up with it. Otherwise, if I don't, I will go like a month without doing anything, because it's so easy to like, get caught up in everything else going on. But it is nice, and it's a way for me to document what's going on in my life, and for me to have that, and it feels special that I get to share that with people.
An actress and singer, how do you did you have like a studio with you on the set probably?
Well, no, but I would find them where we were shooting, and I'd have friends come and write with me while we were making the film. It's quite hard to do both at the same time, but I find that what's so great about recording and writing music, at least, is you really can do it anywhere, and you can be inspired by an idea and be in the studio that night, and that's that took place quite a few times while I was doing this film.
Well, thank you very much, and hope to hear and see more of you in the next future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you.